What's going on, Houston Rockets Nation? My name is David Delano. This is Rockets Daily, brought to you guys by FanArch. We appreciate if you guys would go ahead and subscribe to this channel. Like this video if you like the content. Even if you don't like the content, man, if you think that it could get better or anything at all that you want to talk about Houston Rockets, give us a like anyway, man. What the hell? Likes are free. Definitely would appreciate it. Yes, this is we're talking about this on Monday. We're going to talk about this Saturday loss to the Dallas Mavericks. And now we got a little bit of a break, somewhat of a break as far as when it comes to Rockets games. Now we're going to still be here talking about things and what's going on. And you'll see if there's new developments and all of that good stuff. But Rockets back in action against the Clippers on December 11th, coming off of I don't know, a little bit of a weird scheduling spot. Every loss is disappointing, but Rockets coming off of a 121 to 109 loss to the Dallas Mavericks. We'll talk about at this point of the season and with this game, a little bit of a half empty, half full. The negatives from this, maybe a little bit of overreactions, and the positives, maybe a little bit of overreaction. So let me know what you guys think. Biggest thing with this game, ugly game, but Rockets playing on consecutive nights for just the second time this season. Now Houston is 0-2, 15-6 on the season, but 0-2 when playing for the second night in a row. And I mean the biggest thing here, no Şengün. No Steven Adams, so Clint Capella in the starting lineup, and way too many points in the paint. I mentioned how important Steven Adams is to this roster. Maybe a little bit unexpectedly how important he is to the roster before the season started. We're excited to have Steven Adams back, but his impact has really, really been one of the most underrated players as far as value in the NBA. And then Şengün, we get take for granted. Sometimes it gets taken for granted just how great this guy is. And I've seen a lot of people talking about, man, we lost because of Steven. Now, Şengün wasn't out there either. And Clint Capella at this time, seen a little bit of overreactions and things like that with some Clint Capella. A little bit of Clint Capella hate, but man, Clint Capella has been strong player for the for this organization for a long time. He's dealt with some injuries. 31, which NBA years. You look at somebody who came in the NBA in 2014. At the end of the day, Clint Capella, third string center on this team. So 4 for 7 for Clint Capella, 8 points, 8 rebounds, 2 blocks. Like I said, the Mavs did have way too many points in the paint, but overall, it is what it is. Clint Capella playing his role, energy. Not the same player he used to be, but no one's gonna be the same player that they used to be forever. And as a third center option, it's just tough. We got Şengün and Steven Adams. Things are a lot different not having them in the lineup. But just talked about those points in the paint. To be exact, the Mavericks had 74 points in the paint compared to 58 for the Rockets. And then on the surface, you look at Houston who shot 51% from the floor, but the Mavs shot 60% from the floor, and really took a little bit of a page out of the Rockets book here. Rockets 10 for 29 from three. Dallas just 7 for 19. So Mavericks did not force the threes in this game. And we talked about really Anthony Davis was coming off of the 2-point performance the night before. So both teams, that's one thing. Both teams were playing off of a back-to-back in this situation. But, the Rockets coming off of a nice, convincing, blowout win. You had the Mavericks coming off of a game against, Oklahoma City where they were embarrassed, and where Anthony Davis, he's going to have those games where he's one of the top players in the NBA. And then he's going to have those games here and there where it's like, come on, AD, what's going on? Unfortunately for the Rockets, AD had that game the night before. So after having such a terrible game, yeah, Anthony Davis, the Mavericks did get the better Anthony Davis, and also didn't have to deal with Steven Adams, and did not have to deal with Şengün. So Anthony Davis out there, 29 points on 14, 419 shooting for the for the Dallas Mavericks as they got the win. So looking at this game, as far as let's go ahead and talk about like half empty here, and then we'll get into the half full. As far as half empty, and I mentioned last week, I talked about Reed Shepard's odds for. I thought Reed Shepard had some nice odds now for sixth man of the year. Was it maybe a couple weeks ago? There was a comment about sixth man of the year. He's starting from now on, and Reed Shepard started the next game. But last couple games has come off of the bench, and this kind of goes with the. And honestly, if the minutes are the same there, I think that for a lot of times, if you're the fifth or the sixth man in a rotation, you don't really want to have a huge drop off the bench. So that six man role is very important, and I think that starting it can be a little bit overrated. At least in my opinion, a lot of people may disagree, but I think that how many minutes are you playing during the game as far as starting? It's who's finishing and who's getting those minutes during the game. And talking about half empty, talking about point guard and Amen Thompson. I mean, I'm a big fan of Amen Thompson, I think, as we all are. And this guy is going to be. We'll see. You don't want to crown anybody too early, but when you look at just his talent, work ethic, the type of guy that he seems like, it seems like a future Hall of Fame potential is definitely there. It's always scary to say that when somebody's just 22 years old and in their third season now in the NBA. But just going like half empty here, and we're kind of talking about obviously Amen, long term. Love what we're seeing, but we start to talk about a championship this season and what it's going to take to overcome Oklahoma City. And just, point guard, which has kind of been a concern. This is one of those games. Like I said, it was a back-to-back, and Amen Thompson has been playing so well, but this was not a pretty game. But, 31 points the night before against the Phoenix Suns, and I thought Amen would have, a strong game here, but it was ugly. 2 for 11 from the field, 7 points, 6 turnovers, 4 fouls. Did have 6 rebounds, 6 assists, and 3. Did have 6 rebounds, 6 assists, and 3 steals, and a block. But it wasn't a pretty game. And like I said, I'm nitpicking a little bit. I understand these guys are human. He's playing for the second night, second night in a row. But it just was not a pretty performance there. Like I mentioned, inside the defense was not as strong, but also. Şengün and Adams were not in the lineup, so we do understand that. Now, as far as, we're going to get into like half full here, and there's a lot of things to feel great about, right? Rockets are 15-6, and this loss to the Dallas Mavericks, it was a back-to-back. We know throughout the long NBA season, now we've had the loss to the Mavericks, had the loss to the Jazz, but it's just the way the NBA works. You're not going to be able to look at the schedule and every single game say, we're better than this team, we're going to win that game. And always when you're looking at playing on back-to-back nights, that's always going to be difficult. It doesn't matter who you're playing. So not really a surprise. And when you're playing without 2 of your most valuable players, that's also going to matter. But a couple things I want to say really with half full. I want to give a lot of props to Jabari Smith Jr. We talked about last week with the list from the Ringer, with the top 100 players and Tari Eason being on that list, of Jabari Smith falling off of that list, and even before different forums and even comments on this channel, at the beginning of the season, a lot of people mentioning Jabari Smith, and even when we talk about or hear trade rumors, Jabari, to some people, not all. But there are some people out there as far as to see Jabari as expendable. And I know everybody on this roster can't be untouchable, but man, Jabari's really been, especially for the second night of a back-to-back, to play for more than 41 minutes. Man, Jabari was playing his ass off. And, on the defensive side, Jabari has been a menace. I know Amen Thompson, first team All-NBA defense. Talk about Amen's defense. Talk about, Steven Adams' presence on the interior, but Jabari Smith Jr. gets overlooked a lot, and Jabari came to play in this game on both ends of the court. I believe he was the best, the hardest playing Rocket in this game. I don't think that the rest of the team matched Jabari's energy, but also to finish with 22 points, 8 rebounds, just 1 turnover, and really getting after it defensively in 41 minutes. And as I'm looking at it, man, is this the season high for me? No. Second, this was the longest, most minutes Jabari's played in a regulation game. He's played more minutes. He went over in by a little bit in the Oklahoma City game, and also in the Orlando game, which are both in overtime. So, really like what I'm seeing out of Jabari Smith Jr. I mean, once we talk about, Amen gets a lot of attention. I mean, Jabari Smith Jr. is only 22 years old as well, so you got to feel good about that. And also, it still was a game where a lot of guys, got to play. Now we don't play again till the 11th, so the illness for Şengün to be refreshed, Steven Adams for the long run. You definitely will give this game away to the Dallas Mavericks. I don't want to say give it away, but you guys understand what I'm saying. For Steven Adams to rest on the back-to-back and be good for the long haul. Once it comes playoff time, no one's really going to be thinking about this loss to the Dallas Mavericks. Only thing about it is the Western Conference is so tight that every one of these games is going to matter, at least when it comes to playoff seeding. Even at 15-6, I mean, Rockets are fourth right now, and only half a game ahead of the San Antonio Spurs for fifth. So, a game ahead of the Minnesota Timberwolves for sixth. So, as good as we're feeling about this squad right now, the margin is thin, man. Things could happen. We could be sixth in the West, just like that, but also could be second in the West, sitting just a game behind the Lakers and just a game behind the Denver Nuggets. So every one of these games does matter, but you do understand the situation there as far as overall, in the grand scheme of things, still feeling good about where the team is. Another half full, Aaron Holiday stepped up, had a team best plus minus of +6 with him on the floor. 27 minutes for Aaron Holiday. And we mentioned Aaron Holiday, having some statistical shooting nights that did not look great on the surface. But if you looked at the game, I mean, his impact on the game was so much greater than just his shooting numbers. But he had a strong shooting night in this one, 7 for 12 from the field, 3 for 6 from 3. As I mentioned, the team best plus minus when he was on the floor. Finished with 19 points. And you know what? Kevin Durant as well, 27 points in 31 minutes. Don't want to forget about Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is fitting in with this team nicely. Fitting in with the flow. The chemistry has not been a problem. Been impressed with that. And I do want to mention that because Kevin Durant is so great and we take for granted what he does. And I'm trying to talk about all these other guys, and with Kevin Durant, it's just like Kevin does what Kevin does, right? Like Kevin just on a night like this, it's like, okay, cool 27 points for Kevin Durant, out there on the floor. 1 rebound, 3 assists, just pretty much, scoring. But it was a losing effort, but still, Kevin Durant overall, KD's healthy, KD's playing well, he's showing up. So feeling good about that as well. Next game for the Rockets, as I mentioned, is going to be December 11th. Against the Los Angeles Clippers, but I'll definitely be here to talk about that. We got a little bit of an interesting stretch here. So going to be home against the Clippers for the Rockets, and then going on to take down the Denver Nuggets next Monday. So NBA Cup action is going to be going on. Rockets didn't advance in the NBA Cup, so it does give a little bit of a nice rest advantage, and it's going to make me go to work as far as, different topics and things like that. We're not going to have as many game reactions or games to react to. We face the Clippers on the 11th, face the Nuggets on the 15th, and then the Pelicans on the 18th. So then we're going to have jumping in way, which seems far from now, but it's going to come up before we see it on the the 20th and the 21st. We got back-to-backs again against the Nuggets, of course, against the Nuggets and against the Kings for the Houston Rockets. All right, this has been an episode of Rockets Day. Let me know what you guys think, observations about the loss to the Dallas Mavericks, or also, is it just one of those things? I mean, this happens in the NBA. I kind of feel like this is one of those games you just kind of throw out, without your two big men playing on the second night in a row. It's just kind of one of those games. You got to talk about it. Amin Thompson struggled, but overall, it's really, with everything, it's really about the entire body of work. Anything in life, we have good days, we have bad days. I think it's just one of those games for Amin Thompson that we'll see what happens going forward, but it wasn't good, but it's a learning experience. Young player running the offense. So, yeah, like I said, entire body of work. We got 21 games through the season. Got 61 more to go, and then beyond in the playoffs. Go ahead and subscribe to this channel if you have not already. This has been Rockets Daily, brought to you by FanArch. God bless and be good to each other out there.